Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the next series we're going to start having a look at in Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3. And that is going to be found within the first DLC expansion, The Curse of the Vampire. Now, this was introduced about a year ago, a little bit before actually, and it's kind of fitting that we start looking into this series where tomorrow is Halloween, and I know that this is going to take us into November and a couple weeks out from there. But the series that we're going to want to have a look at is this Nightmare section. Now, this is kind of the one quirk that was added along with the Curse of the Vampire DLC expansion. We started to look at it a little bit, but basically the gist of this is that we have the same story quest that you're familiar with a couple of novel tweaks. And this will be a good series for us to ramp up some of the advancements within our team, as well as get you a little more familiar with the Curse of the Vampire attributes and things that were added with this section of the game. So let's go ahead and boot ourselves up the Nightmare section. And, well, there's one difficulty, and that is that Nightmare difficulty. So let's go ahead and jump onto the Kree ship into this first docking bay area and get underway, shall we? So when it comes to Curse of the Vampire, there aren't a whole lot of changes really at all to the maps, the puzzles, anything else that we're running with, but the combat has been revamped and overhauled pretty severely. So let's go ahead and work our way through here, but we're going to want to take a moment and get any of these rare boxes, as there's typically some pretty unique rewards to these missions in these different sections here. Looks like nothing happened here, as I have played through the first bit a couple of different times, but we're currently not finding anything extraordinary or different here. Alright, let's jump ahead with Thanos here, just because he's a little bit more versatile than some of our other characters in our squad currently. And we're now at the section where we are being sent down into the abyss. And we need to skip through this cutscene into our first combat section. And this is what really starts to introduce us to a lot of the attributes that are found within this expansion here. So we have a couple of infected enemies, and those are portrayed by the characters with the black aura or sphere around them, which you can now see upon myself and my other teammates here. And Nebula has what's called the infection active on her, which means that she can cause, or she's a cursed entity, which means that she can cause different characters, both allies and enemies, to become infected. Now, anytime you take down a cursed enemy, you'll see that white mist that emanates from them, and that is going to cure you of said infection, which makes combat a little bit easier. Because as good as it is to have that infection cleared, it does have some benefits as long as you are interacting with opponents. So let's make our way through these opponents here and make our way up this next staircase. Now, I believe that this is where we start experiencing a couple of different curses that are active with the Curse of the Vampire. Now, you saw that there was that first aura, which was more of an electrical aura, and that is an aura that, as you guessed, does electrical damage and can kind of stagger you out as you are brought susceptible to it. Now, the next aura that we have here is up at the top, and it is with this larger, mighty enemy. He had the ability that kind of drags or sucks us into him, which isn't exactly a pleasant experience, especially when you have a lot of enemies that are kind of grouped up together. So let's beat into the core computer here, see if we can get our way through a good chunk of this health before the opponents show up. Now here we have another set of enemies. You'll see that there's the electric one. He's made a return or another appearance. And now we have a couple of others that have a small red ring around them. And the caution with those guys is upon being defeated, they are going to explode. And they're violently. So you want to keep your distance from them. And just like that, you see that there was a large explosion, and Wasp got caught up in the middle of it, so she is not looking good in terms of her health currently. I think she got hit by all 3 of those explosions. And the core computer's gone down, so we can now make our way into the final confrontation area against Ronan. And let's get the boss fight up and running here. And it looks like Ronan also has a curse attribute active, which is not what I wanted to do right there. But apparently that's what we ended up doing. I would have liked to have held on to that extreme attack until the second half here. I did not mean to activate that by any means. But you'll see here that we now have Ronan into his second phase, which starts off on a very rocky ground. So I'm going to try and conserve any of my teammates that I can from taking excessive amounts of damage by activating a couple of these abilities. And it looks like Miles got knocked out of it, unfortunately. And we're in heavier attack. And with one more set of heavy attacks there from Thanos Infinite, we've got Ronan taken down, which does it for the first section of our fight. And with that, we have brought ourselves to the next section of our combat here. And I don't think that that did it for us. We're going to need to do this synergy attack in conjunction with Dr. Doom in order to get into the next section. And there is one chest that we'll need to double back and get once we've restored power to the facility here. And that ought to do it. So now we can get the next rare box, or the loot box here, from this wall. And it looks like this is going to be a slightly different version of the attack, or it might have been the exact same one, but we can now beat into this one, which doesn't get any unique rewards, which is okay. Of course, we would have loved to have seen some unique rewards there. And now we've got another new set of these curses in the form of the ice or the freezing attribute. So if you stay too close to these opponents, you will find yourself encased in ice, which is always kind of annoying or a nuisance. So you'll want to be careful and cautious about that. But we've got another rare box that's going to be down at the end of this corridor. And that just gave us some blue ISO, which isn't anything to sneeze at. Unless it's the experience accelerant one, which those ones are pretty hard to come by. So I don't anticipate that that's what it was. Alright, looks like we've got a couple of infected opponents. Doesn't appear to be any cursed ones here. But that's what we'll need to be cautious of as we layer in our attacks here. Alright, more infected personnel coming in. Maybe one of the last opponents that comes in has the curse that'll clear us of the infection. This could get kind of nasty if that is not the case. Oh, we've got one of the exploding personnel here. Let's back up, get away from them. And let's layer in with another dash attack here from Thanos. And a few more heavy attacks ought to do us in and get us in the clear. Alright, we've got one more rare box in here. This one's going to be off towards the right behind this synergy wall. So we'll want to knock that down. And the only tornado that we have is with Wasp. So we'll go ahead and employ that attack there. And we've got a health regeneration, which, I mean, full health regeneration orbs are really nice to have. But I am not currently in need of it, especially because we're going to hit a shield icon right here and become fully healed anyway. Got one more rare box right here at the entrance to the Sandman fight. Nothing super noteworthy there, so let's just get into this arena, see if there's any large differences. I don't expect there to be with Sandman. So let's zip out of the way of that. Hope that one of my teammates makes their way over to this other concrete suppression cannon. And we've got another energy or sandstream coming in there. So we'll roll out of the way and roll out of the way again. And let's layer in as many of these extreme attacks as we can and watch Sandman's health just melt away. Now, we're not going to one-cycle him, unfortunately. Looks like we've got a couple of our cursed enemies in here. And we've got a burning Curse of the Vampire active, which those ones are a little bit of a nuisance as well. Alright, we've got the uppercut there coming in from Sandman. And you really want to be careful, make sure that you don't get caught underneath that massive hammer when Sandman unleashes that attack, because it is devastating. It'll take out a large chunk of your health if you get caught underneath that one. So let's see if we can continue layering into him. And then let's see if we can get a couple more attacks in on him. I think we can, honestly, we can probably just take out Sandman without having to worry about the rest of those opponents, which is always good. And then we don't even need to sit around and finish out the remainder of those opponents. We'll just need to talk with Nick Fury, and I think we'll go through one more boss battle here, just because we're doing pretty good on time. So we don't have any rare boxes here. There is a rift hanging out in the back corner here, or there's generally a rift hanging out here, but due to the game mode, there's not going to be. And Nick Fury's voice line concerning an energy spike is notably absent due to that rift not being present. Now let's get these guys drawn in to the point where they're easy to take out with one quick, concise attack. And now we've got the laser grid puzzle, which I don't expect this to be really any different either. I mistimed that. And mistimed that as well. This one might be easier to do with Dr. Doom. Just to have him kind of hover there. And then let's move this box in the way of this laser grid. You know, push Miles Morales straight through that, because as a fun fact, all of your teammates are invulnerable to these energy grids, which kind of makes things nice because it means that you're not endlessly losing your health when trying to get through them. Now, like we've got another Purse member active here. There is a exploding member that's held up over in this cell over on the right. So that makes things a little bit entertaining. We'll just need to be cautious and mindful of that opponent as we layer into the remaining opponents active here. And we got caught in that blast, just as I said that we're going to need to be cautious of that. One more. And with a heavy attack there, we've got them taken out. All right, Miles Morales is growing with his experience pretty well, so that tends to do okay. I also have some experience accelerant ISO active on him, so that's kind of to be expected. Got some purple ISO, so nothing super spectacular there. and then we'll just want to make our way through this laser grid. Now, in order to get through, all you need to do is press this singular button here, and that'll open up the full path to the other side. But Dr. Doom, you've got to get over here. Then let's get Miles on that. We can now take Dr. Doom over here to this box and smash that down. And that's some white ISO. White ISO isn't terrible, all things considered. So let's get this deactivated here and then walk through this gate, regain the remainder of our team. And now we've got ourselves a new set of these curses. This is a field that slows your movement, specifically your ground movement. So you'll want to keep that in mind. So rolling, dodging, jumping through these opponents is going to negate the effect of that ability. And I knew that there was another rare box right here. So let's go ahead and smash into that. More purple ISO. This is rank C, so it's better than the rank D stuff that we were getting just a moment ago. Nothing else here that we need to be cautious of. Nothing in that room. There actually are a couple throwables, and it looks like in this room we have a couple of the ice-cursed opponents. And now that we have these opponents staggered out, we'll layer into them with a couple more attacks. That looks pretty good, so we'll move along into what's going to be the final boss fight of today's episode, which is the Electro Venom fight. And at a first glance, doesn't look like this is going to be any different, but the effect did come in after the fact, showing us that we do have the electric curse active on Electro, which is, that's just kind of fitting. So let's layer into him a little bit more. Now, Thanos Infinite, he kind of has an unfair advantage in this fight as he doesn't get affected by these curses as easily as the rest of our teammates. For example, anyone else who's been administered into that ring or that aura is going to be staggered out with their abilities, or they're not going to be able to land hits as easily. And I'm expecting that attack to be pretty consistent there as well. So let's get all of our extreme attacks online, detonate them on top of Venom here, and that actually might do it. Chunk, I'm expecting it to. So let's layer in with a few more of our heavy attacks, and honestly, that ought to be it. Now, that's not the general gimmick that you're going for with this fight. You want to lure his aerial or ground crashing attack over these exposed wires, but that does it for us pretty well, and that is going to be where we call things off for today's episode. So if you're enjoying the series, please feel free to leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe for more daily content, and let me know which bosses you're excited to see within the nightmare difficulty of the Curse of the Vampire. Thanks again for watching, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day.